me your secrets. Show me your nightmares. All cats are gray in the dark, dear, whether or not you dare. Welcome to All Cats Are Gray in the Dark. I'm your host, April Simmons. This podcast contains true cases of graphic violent crimes and other stories of a dark nature. Please be advised that due to the subject matter and violent, sometimes sexual content and obscene language, this podcast is not for children or the faint of heart.
And we're here doing an episode, this time with my sister Sabrina. She's back from episode 7. She time traveled here from episode 7.
Come in. It was my doppelganger that brought me here today.
Yes. And we had we did a test run of this audio since we're recording over internet. Yeah. Anyway, back I guess to the show. I was gonna say that we did a little test recording to start out, and when I saved the file to listen to it, yours said -2 hours error. I was like, wait, what?
Yes. I've traveled here to be with you today.
She traveled to us from 2 hours ago.
God, I wish I could get the 2 hours back it took to set up the damn audio today.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. It was really like 30 minutes, but it felt like forever.
And mine is still lower than yours for some reason. I'll just be talking really softly. Or I'll have to just scream into the mic when I want to talk.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll start from where we started the first time we recorded this stupid thing.
Yay.
We recorded a whole hour and a half last time, and then it went the way of the buffalo. Actually, worse than the way of the buffalo. It was just completely unusable.
What does the way of the buffalo actually mean? Like
I think it's extinct, but they're not extinct now, so I realize that that's probably not the best word.
Yeah. I was gonna say, but like we have a buffalo park. Like I don't get it. In our damn town.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, technically speaking, time travel does exist right now. I'm having deja vu here. Anyway.
Whoa. It's like we already did this before. Is it some sort of time travel?
Maybe it is. But it doesnn exist in the sci-fi kind of way you're thinking. According to a TED Ed video by Colin Stewart, Russian cosmonaut Sergei Krikalev actually traveled. Yeah, Krakalakin, we'll just call him that. Actually traveled 0.02 seconds into his own future due to the time dilation during the time he spent on the International Space Station. For the curious, Krikalev has spent a total of 803 days, 9 hours, and 39 minutes in space over the course of his career. I don't have any more detail on that. I don't know why, but he traveled 0.02 seconds, so I figured, that's not a big deal. So
better than nothing.
Yeah, but it does exist. It's just not that exciting, guys. I'm sorry. But we do have a list of stories about different supposed time travel incidences, some considered hoax and some not. And we're going to share them with you and take turns reading about them. Or we may skip around and not straight up read them this time. We kind of know the general story since we did this already.
I don't know. My memory tends to time travel often. I probably don't remember half of this already. And
you're like, whoa, I never heard of that before.
I know, even though we've literally done this. Yeah.
Yeah. First is I wanted to talk about the Philadelphia experiment because it's a very famous one. It's an alleged military experiment supposedly carried out by the U.S. Navy in Philadelphia sometime around October 28th, 1943. I'm not going to completely read this out loud this time because I just don't feel like it's necessary. Go look it up yourself.
Look it up.
Basically, they were doing a test to try and cloak the ship But what happened was it just completely disappeared, not just invisible to the radar, but just gone. Like it vanished into thin air. And then hours later, there was reports of it appearing at a shipyard in Virginia, and then it reappeared right back in Philadelphia immediately. Members of the crew suffered from terrible burns and disorientation, but most shockingly, which I didn't know this before I did this research, a few crewmen were found partially embedded in the steel hull of the ship, still alive, but with legs and arms sealed to the deck. That's just a little bit disturbing to me.
Yeah. And just like everything I'm going to compare this to, and just like I did in our previously attempted recording of this, that it's all reminding me of Fringe. Like, God, there were several episodes where people's like legs and arms got stuck in walls and like chopped off trying to time travel and stuff like that. So, like, surely there's some sort of science behind that so many different television series and books and movies like have the radiation and legs and arms stuck in places like that's the thing that's going to keep me from trying time travel. Like let you guys do that for a few years before I hop on board.
It also reminds me of Star Trek, like the teleporter accidents where, it's basically taking apart your particles and putting them back together. And then they have accidents where their people aren't put back together right, or just their particles don't come back together at all, or whatever.
Yes. Oh my God. And this is one of the things I totally forgot when we recorded before, but the show Future Man, which I love, like when they travel and like their dicks get swapped and he's like, whoa, like that's what I imagine would happen. Like if you time travel together, or teleported with other people, like would your bits and pieces get all swapped together? Like how would it know?
Swip swap. That's our term of the day.
Yeah, like I think it's somebody's like pinky toe became someone's like big toe or whatever when they traveled. So like, I don't know. It's like I said, I'm gonna need it to be like a perfected science before I would ever try time traveling. And again, just like the idea of time traveling and fucking up the world, just like in Future Man again, like no, thanks. I would totally straight up screw shit up.
You want to read the next one, I guess?
I can try. All right. So this one's The Circus, which is a Chaplin video. So the first commercial cell phones didn't hit the market until the early 1980s. I almost said 1800s. They time traveled. But an Irish filmmaker says he spotted one in footage from a vintage Charlie Chaplin film from 1928. Perplexed by the appearance of the modern device in the very dated film, George Clark took his discovery a step further, suggesting in a YouTube video that the cell phone-toting futurist is a time traveler. Behind the scenes footage from the Chaplin film The Circus has since become the latest viral sensation to sweep the web with more than 1.4 million views. So basically it just shows like somebody walking down the street and that they appear to be holding something to their ear that looks like a cell phone. So, a lot of people are like, it's an ear trumpet and it's an AM/FM radio and so this and that, but for the most part, it's debunked as a hearing aid. But even then, hearing aids were pretty new. So, like, is it a phone? Is it an ear trumpet? I just like saying ear trumpet.
I think
it's just
everybody does.
Yeah, the trumpet. It just so it's weird footage that looks out of place, and I think that's anything that you can watch, like a video or anything like that shows someone doing something eerily similar to what we do to this day is a little creepy. Like,
yeah, I jumped on that bandwagon when I first saw this floating around the internet back in 2010, and like it trips me out to see the footage or just a still of the footage. It really does look like somebody talking on a phone. So, is it possible that it's a hearing aid? Yes, of course it is, because it had been invented. But it's still just her demeanor and the fact that she's talking into it, like the way she's holding it, her talking into it, like it just really seems like a cell phone. But then you brought up last time also the fact that where would she get a cell phone tower for reception for this?
Yeah. Yeah. Or is she from that far in the future that shit just works, all the time now? Did we send satellites back in time too? Like, I mean, I guess that's possible. I mean, if we can send ourselves back in time, why couldn't we send some equipment to float out in outer space? It's like, they're not looking for that in 1928, so why not? Like, we weren't quite in the space race just yet, so there could be all kinds of unexplainable shit out there. What if UFOs and shit are actually us in all of our attempts to fucking time travel?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, it's a good thought there.
Yeah.
I guess, but I guess to me, it's not debunked because there's really no way to prove that it's real or not real. Like, we can't. There's no way for us to know what it is she has in her hand.
Yeah.
So
They all
there's
did.
yeah. So at
She
least
could
I
have just
think
been
so.
fucking crazy. Or it could be a situation where maybe she was someone with a mental illness, but a mental illness that has like future predictions, and she knows like, oh, this is how people act in the future. I don't know. That's really far fetched, but hell, anything's possible. Especially when you don't have anybody to explain it to you. What had happened. What
Yeah.
had happened was.
I just still think it's still eerie to look at that footage. So anybody
Yeah.
that has not seen it, look up the Circus Chaplain video. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is the Versailles time slip, which is it's like 2 pages worth of story here. So I think I'm going
I
to
think
just
it's my favorite.
It's probably one of my favorites out of these two, but I'm going to try to shorten it this time.
Yeah.
They basically it's a claim of time travel or hauntings made by Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain. In 1911, they published a book entitled An Adventure under the names Elizabeth Morrison and Frances Lamont. Their book describes a visit they made to the Petit Trianon, a small chateau on the grounds of the Palace of Versailles. They basically went to the gardens, and they basically had things just they described a feeling of oppression and dreariness coming over them. And then they basically, while going through these gardens, things around them kind of started looking strange. Like, there were men dressed as very dignified officials, long grayish green coats, small 3-cornered hats, a cottage with a woman holding out a jug to a girl in the doorway. They basically said it seemed like a living picture. So it looked like earlier times, basically. And they also saw what they believed to be Marie Antoinette. And she looked just like the portrait of Marie Antoinette by Werthmuller. Werthmuller? I don't know how to say that. But, time traveler. Anyway, but they basically said that it really resembled Marie Antoinette, and as she was depicted in the painting. And they saw other things too, but that's basically the general idea, is that they saw back in time to Marie Antoinette's time while they were visiting the gardens of the property of the Palace of Versailles. They didn't speak of the incident until like a week later after, and they started to compare notes on what they had seen. And they visited the gardens again on several occasions, but were unable to find the path that they had taken. Various landmarks that they had seen were missing, and the grounds were full of people. Trying to come up with an explanation, they wondered if they had stumbled across a private party or an event booked that day, but they found out that nothing had been booked that afternoon. Throughout their research, they thought they recognized the man they saw by the kiosk as Comte de Vaudreuil, a friend of Marie Antoinette, who had herself Moberly had claimed to see. The story was never debunked per se, but most people did not believe the story, as the women claimed other paranormal experiences before and after this incident.
So basically, they didn't help themselves by claiming a lot of different weird stuff. But yeah, I like this one just because I think everybody's had a situation in their life, whether it's like a feeling of deja vu, or like you're walking through the forest when you're a kid and you're like, everything seems magical. And like, I know when I was a kid, like I thought I'd wandered into like a fairy realm because like the like woods was only like really oddly calm and things just look different. Like we've all had just kind of like a weird juju feeling before, and I think that their description of like things feeling really weird and oppressed and like I think what we talked about when we tried to record this before was like, do we have like an aura of our time, like when we if time travel is real and if we like someone from the future goes to the past, like is it like evident? Can people like smell it like sharks? Like, all just like they show up and they feel the weirdness of the time period. It's just a mix of our, in hell, maybe it's radiation. Maybe it's just like all the bad things in our air or whatever makes a difference, and things were clear back then and they're like, this is fucking weird. But like I just find that interesting, the way they describe how it felt, just as much as they described how it looked and things like that. Like it's just, there's so many questions to have someone displaced in time. Like, what does it mean? And of course, a place like Palace of Versailles too. Like that's a really historical place, and I feel like most situations, like if something has a lot of history or a lot of death, like Civil War places, things like that, like there's so much energy there, whether you believe in that or not. Like you can't deny sometimes places like that just feel different in general. So I don't know if they got wrapped up in that feeling of that energy and smoked some ganja and felt real weird about it and imagined Marie Antoinette, or if it really happened. I think that's possible too, because again, like that energy or that feeling sometimes, like just like somewhere in time he thought his way to the past. Like, is that possible? Is time travel really mental? Are we all a sim? I'm rambling at this point, but I just find that one interesting because there's never ending possibilities to what they described, because it's like,
Yeah.
It's not just a science experiment or a test to try to time travel or anything like that. It's like, how did this happen?
Yeah. I guess just the amount of detail they had. I know I didn't read all the details this time. I just kind of gave you the highlights. But they describe all these different people and things and environment. And it's like, it seems like if somebody were being fake about it, they would just be like, oh, I saw Marie Antoinette, like, or just something stupid like that. But they don't. They provide all these details, and they don't actually say it was Marie Antoinette. They just say it looked like her.
Yeah. Well, and like, I like the extra added detail of someone handing someone a jug. Like, that pulled me right in. It's very handing someone a jug.
Yep. It's all about the jugs.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you know if time travel's real, if there's jugs involved.
It's like, I just imagine someone with a time traveling jug, like you blow in it like, and you time travel. I don't know. I haven't slept a lot lately. Sorry.
We need now I need a t-shirt that just says all about the jugs. Yeah. Anyway, I told that to James because we just recorded an episode about cryptozoology, and one of the things that he said, that he basically believes that mermaids are just really juicy manatees. And so
that manatee thick.
So
juicy manatees.
Yeah, so I was like, that really needs to be a t-shirt. Mermaids are just juicy manatees.
Yeah.
Because it's just a really funny mental picture.
Yeah.
It's like, I picture a manatee wearing some shells. Anyway.
And really, like, it's just like some starfish that got stuck to them or something.
Yeah, and they've got like really pretty eyelashes, and they're just laying on a rock, giving like a come hither look. It's just really funny to me. Oh, we got off subject. Anyway, but I really, yes, it does kind of discredit them that they have reported other stuff.
And they wrote a story about it, which makes it seem like it's just a work of fiction.
Yes, but I wouldn't call it debunked, because we don't know what they experienced. And to me, all the details means that they're either really fucking creative and kudos, or they really saw some shit, you know?
Ain't that some shit?
Mm-hmm. You want to take the Project Pegasus, the crazy Barack Obama one?
Yes. This one I enjoy. So, Project Pegasus is a U.S. black project operated under the Air Force Space Command that has allegedly achieved successful organic teleportations to the moon and, more notably, to Mars. Its success has further claims into time travel. However, it is more likely that the test subjects or victims of Project Pegasus were really subjects of mind control. Although not confirmed, Pegasus may have been an experimental extension of Project MK Ultra, formed after the Kennedy assassination. Supposedly, teleportation was achieved in 1964 and time travel was achieved in 1970. 140 children were used in experimental jumps to Mars along with time travel tests. They typically sent children because of design limitations that made it difficult for adults to jump. Any adults that actually managed the jumps, despite the limitations, suffered psychological trauma. Children seem to psychologically adapt better to these jumps. However, the jumps were not always safe, as one child returned from his temporal voyage before his legs. Alfred Weber reports he was writhing in pain with just stumps where his legs had been. Washington-based attorney Andrew Basiago, a former child jumper, claims that future presidents like both Bush's, Clinton, and Barack Obama were also children who were involved in these experiences. Basiago claims that he was sent to several famous events in history, like the Gettysburg Address, and that he and some of the other children even met George Washington. His story is corroborated by at least 3 other people. So this one, I always feel like anytime you've got like presidential people, things that are like formed as part of history, I think we all try to like understand how this happened and how this worked. And, you know, there's obviously a lot of people that dislike the Bushes, Clinton, and Barack Obama. So to imagine like, no matter what your political affiliation, like the other side always wants to understand, how did this happen? How did they become president? They're not my president, and whatever bullshit else people say. Like, sometimes you're going to be a lot easier to like grasp at a conspiracy theory like that. But at the same time, is that how it happens? Is that how we get big historical figures in place that you don't understand? Is it because they were part of something bigger? Like that's what I wonder, like, especially like so much stuff around the Kennedy assassination itself, like just so many things surrounding that. Sometimes it really just has an eerie feeling, just like 9/11. Like, I remember that happening and it was a weird vibe. Well, hell, what we're in right now is the weirdest vibe I've probably ever felt with the coronavirus going on. Like, it really makes you wonder, like, what caused this? Why does this feel so funky? And I think that this one makes me feel a little funky. Like, what if it's true? These fuckers are all presidents because they knew what was going to happen. Those bastards.
Yeah. They used that info to their advantage, I guess.
Yeah.
But I guess this one's interesting to me. I don't necessarily believe it, but I think if you actually look up the attorney, Andrew Basiago, before he made these claims, he was considered a very reputable person. And that freaks me out a little bit, because it's like, well, what if it is true? And it's like, and none of these people have really made any statements about this and whether it happened, you know, like, so, which I guess you can say that maybe they didn't because it's ridiculous, but I just find it strange that nobody's willing to talk about this except for this one lawyer who was reputable until he made these claims, and now he's considered fucking crazy.
Yeah. Like, why would you do that to yourself? Or maybe you're just like, I'm really tired of being a shitty ass lawyer, you know, like, it's time for a change, time to retire, you know. I mean, I guess that's one way to go out, you know, you get tired of your life, but that's definitely on the far-fetched end of it.
Yeah. I've also read a lot of articles that mention Obama more than anybody else. Yeah. So,
how old would Obama have been during that time period? Or was it a longer span of time? Because that makes it sound like it's only like 5 or 6 years that they were doing the shit. But like, I don't even know
It
how.
doesn't say how long it went on, or hell, it might still be going on for all I know. But
You
that's
can
just when
sign
they
up.
were working on those
I don't want to
particular
go, but
things.
I'll send Nancy.
No, you won't. She won't come back with no legs. I have no legs. Anyway,
That's fine. Then she'll never leave me.
she's gonna love hearing that. Actually, she won't listen to it, but
Yeah,
anyway.
probably not. She'll probably listen to everything now to get she actually has listened to several of the episodes because she's listened to them with me and talked about them, but like yeah, she'll probably at least listen to her own episode because she's conceited like me and her father.
That's funny. I figured she would just be embarrassed and probably wouldn't share it or something, probably.
Probably some of both. But she'll probably share it with one friend, and that one friend will share it with all, so.
I'll just send it straight to Alex and skip her.
Yeah, there you go. Alex will take care of it for you.
Alex, I mentioned you in the episode. You have to share this now. Anyway, I think we should probably take a break. We were supposed to on after the end of the last page, and I forgot. Whoopsie. Whoopsie. And I need to pee, so we'll be right back after these messages. Bump, bump.
You're in the place where mysteries and the missing meet, where conspiracies lurk around every corner. Welcome to the Deep, Dark Truth.
Mo here from the Deep Dark Truth podcast, where we're searching for the truth behind your favorite conspiracies, mysteries, and bizarre true crime cases. Check us out on Apple, Google, or the platform of your choice. Join us in discovering the Deep Dark Truth.
Come here. Whisper to me your secrets. Show me your nightmares. All cats are gray in the dark, dear, whether or not you dare.
Welcome to All Cats Are Gray in the Dark. I'm your host, April Simmons. This podcast contains true cases of graphic violent crimes and other stories of a dark nature. Please be advised that due to the subject matter and violent, sometimes sexual content and obscene language, this podcast is not for children or the faint of heart.
Hey friends, we want to tell you about Anchor FM. That's what we use. It's free. It's easy to use. You do it right from the phone or the computer. Basically, you can record, edit, create, add some little doodads on there to make it fancy.
It has all the tools you need for your very own podcast.
And the best part is that they submit it to all the listening apps and stuff for you, so you don't even have to worry about that.
And the other part is, it's absolutely free.
Yes, free is always my favorite. So go check it out, anchor.fm. Get your own podcast started today.
Let's do this.
Come here.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's recording. You know,
shake it dang darn.
Chucky dang darn. Hi, hi, hi. Yeah, we can actually text chat on the screen so that people don't all hear everything we have to say to each other behind the scenes. But
who does that?
Yeah, I know. We're just like, whatever. We'll just say it. I guess it's my turn to do the next one. Oh, and welcome back, because I think we're going to make this a separate episode. Not 100% decided on that, but
yeah, let's see how long we ramble this time, because last time we're like, let's just make this like 40 minutes, and then like 3 hours later.
Yeah, it's because at the end we started talking about time travel related stuff, and then it just kind of went forever. I think the actual episode was like 45 minutes, and then the rest of it's just us talking about shit like Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Anyway, which we can still talk about that. We just got to limit our rambling.
Yeah. Who does that? That's definitely not a me or you thing.
Yeah. John Titor is a name, or Titor, I don't know how to say it. A name used on several bulletin boards from 2000 to 2001 by a poster claiming to be an American military time traveler from 2036. Titor made numerous vague and specific predictions regarding calamitous events in 2004 and beyond. I kind of wish I had included those. If I could find, maybe I couldn't find them. I'm not sure at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's been weeks since I actually did this research, so I have no idea. Including a nuclear war, none of which came true. Maybe it's still coming. Who knows?
Yeah.
So,
Yay.
subsequent closer examination of Titor's assertions provoked widespread skepticism. Inconsistencies in his explanations, the uniform inaccuracy of his predictions, and a private investigator's findings all led to the general impression that the entire episode was an elaborate hoax. A 2009 investigation concluded that Titor was likely the creation of Larry Haber, a Florida entertainment lawyer, along with his brother Maury, a computer scientist. In his online postings, you can see more details along with the predictions he made on the Wikipedia page.
So this one, like, there's been several cases of things like this, but really though, like, if they made predictions and things like that of events, like, how do we know those predictions
Or an alternate timeline, or that they were stopped by
no, exactly. Like, maybe that was their whole plan, was to come back, sound a little bit crazy, but at the same time stop the shit from happening. Who knows? Didn't stop coronavirus though, motherfuckers.
Anyway, but so I guess that one's not true, since they did say they tracked this, but they said it's likely the creation of that guy. So I guess they still don't technically have proof of who actually did it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and sometimes people can start something and then other people pick it back up. You know, like you know, you never know with the internets, especially that far back. There's obviously going to be a little less of a way to track it at this point, but you know, it could have been people picking up and passing the torch, you know.
Yeah. You want to take this next one? This next one's the one that also really impressed me. It was one of my favorites of the stories.
Yeah. All right. So this one's about Victor Goddard. RAF Air Marshal Sir Robert Victor Goddard was a senior commander during the Second World War, and during a flying mission in 1939, he believed he experienced what time travel buffs refer to as a time slip. He was flying over a disused Air Force base in the village of Drim, East Lothian, when he claimed to have seen it change before his very eyes. As he approached the airfield, the torrential rain abruptly changed to bright sunlight. When he looked down, he saw the airfield had been completely renovated and was now in use. There were mechanics in blue overalls walking around and 4 yellow planes parked on the runway. One of these was a model which, for all his aviation experience, he completely failed to recognize. The base at Drim was eventually resurfaced in 1939 and went on to become an air defense fighter unit for Edinburgh during the Second World War. Goddard's alleged time slip is made all the more believable by the fact that while RAF training planes were simply a silver aluminum color in 1935, they began to be painted in a distinctive yellow color soon after, and around the same time, the Air Force changed their mechanic overalls from tan to blue. So basically, the shit he saw came true.
Yeah, and the fact that it was such a short time frame that this happened also makes it more believable to me, because it's not like he time traveled way into the future and knows stuff, or traveled way back in the past and saw some historic shit. It's just some really basic shit that happened, and he was able to describe enough to make it believable.
Yeah. Well, and kind of like what we were just talking about in the last one, like the things that these people described, did they stop it from happening by telling us about these calamitous events? Could it be the same situation where they're like, oh shit, a yellow plane sounds cool, and like, oh man, blue overalls, heck yeah. Like, did him talking about it, they're like, damn, that's a really good idea. Let's crank that bitch back up and change some colors and spiffiness, and who knows. I mean, I don't know when he told people about it. Maybe he didn't tell anybody until after it had already changed, but yeah, like you said, it's something so simple and such a small bit of detail that it's like, what the heck did happen?
Yeah.
And And it kind of goes back to what I was saying too, like during the Second World War, obviously that's a big energy, you know, such a big time period where a lot of things happened. And I feel like that's one of those like blips on the timeline that is really important. So could it have been a rip in reality because so many people try to time travel back to it? Is it because it's such a significant time period that it has a lot of energy that caused him to move to the future? Like, I don't know. Like, again, it's one of those things. I don't know enough scientific bullshit to be able to say like some good words to explain what I'm trying to explain. But like, again, to me, it's a significant time period. Could it have had more time travel energy voodoo going on that caused it?
Yeah. Could
Watch
be.
out for those technical terms, guys.
And the whole time, since I already knew this story from us reading it before and me doing the research, the whole time, just the second you said time slip, all I could think was it's a bit of a time slip. Let's do the time warp again. Anyway, that's all I could think the entire time talking.
Yeah.
That's how my brain works.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, time slip. I mean, you know, doesn't get used often.
Yeah. And next we have Space Barbie, which I think is complete bullshit. But if you please look up on Google Images Space Barbie, you will either thank or hate me. I'm not sure which.
Both. Why not both?
I don't know. Space Barbie is Valeria Lukianova. The Ukrainian woman, dubbed Human Barbie by the media, does get plenty of attention because of her extreme looks. Her controversial comments to GQ magazine about finding children unacceptable and blaming race mixing for the degeneration of beauty standards definitely raised some eyebrows. And some of us can still move our foreheads. But these troubling viewpoints don't even begin to scratch the surface. In a Vice documentary produced last year, the 28-year-old is described as not a real girl at all, but a time-traveling spiritual guru whose purpose is to save the world from the clutches of superficiality and negative energy. In other words, Valeria, dubbed Space Barbie, in this instance explained that she came to Earth to help people to realize that it's necessary to move from the role of human consumer to human demigod. Looking like Barbie, she says, just makes the non-aliens more inclined to hear her message. This bitch crazy.
I mean, this is one of the, like, usually if it has something to do with time travel, I'm like, please be real. Please be real. Because, like, we all want there to be more and being able to change the world or whatever. But this one, I'm like, please don't be real. Please don't be real. Like,
I know, right?
This is creepy.
I just think it's ironic for her to be supposedly saving us from superficiality when she looks like a fucking Barbie.
Yeah.
Like, what? She just looks like either an alien or a basically plastic surgery accident, okay? Like, she just looks too weird for words. Please look up the picture. Just do it.
Yeah.
You may regret it, but still look it up anyway because it's interesting.
Yeah.
I think she's full of shit.
Yeah.
But she really does look like an alien, so then it's like, but I don't want her to be real.
Yeah, I know.
She's just creepy. She's creepy. She's creepy, definitely. Anyway, you want to get to the next one?
All right. Yay, I get a short one. All right. The Hipster. The image was first made available to the public in 2004 when it was featured in the Barlorn Pioneer Museum's exhibit, Their Past Lives Here. The photograph was taken in 1941 at the reopening of the South Fork Bridge in Canada, and when the museum digitized and placed online the collection that included this picture in 2010, some internet users noted that a man in the photograph appeared to be dressed far too modern for 1940. This has been debunked. So I already forgot which one this was. Was this the one where he looks like he's like looking down staring at a phone or something?
No, I think this is the one where he's just dressed oddly. He has like some sunglasses on and that look kind of modern.
Yeah.
And he's wearing a hockey shirt, but it was a hockey team from back then, so that's why it's been debunked, is because the t-shirt that he was wearing was actually from that era.
Yeah.
So That one's just completely debunked because they can explain away the stuff that he's wearing. So I just included it because it
Oh
is a
yeah,
really
yeah.
cool
Okay,
picture.
yeah. I think I have seen this one. It looks like he's wearing like a hippie hoodie or something and sunglasses. Yeah. He definitely does look out of place, but who knows?
He does, but people have explained it away. So I actually, it's just, I included it because it was a really popular one that got passed around. So I just included it for that reason.
Yeah. Well, hopefully during this time of chaos and a lot of people sitting at home doing stuff, like I've seen a lot of people going through their pictures right now and posting like pictures of their family and things like that. People need to be looking for creepy shit in their pictures, all right? Like let's have an insurgence of like paranormal and time traveling people found in photographs, all right? Like I need this in my life.
Anyway, this next one's another one of my favorites just because of the possibilities behind it and kind of the conspiracy type of thing behind it. The chronovisor. It was allegedly a functional time viewer described by Father Francois Brune in his 2002 book, Le Nouveau Mystère du Vatican, The Vatican's New Mystery. Brune is the author of several books on the paranormal and religion. In the book, Brune relates that the chronovisor was built by Pellegrino Arnetti, an Italian priest and scientist. Although Arnetti was a real person, the existence or functionality of the chronovisor has never been confirmed. Its alleged capabilities are strongly reminiscent of the fictional time viewer, which features in T.L. Shered's 1947 science fiction novella E for Effort. The alleged existence of the chronovisor has fueled a whole series of conspiracy theories, such as that the device was seized and is actually used by the Vatican or by those who secretly control governments and their economies around the world. That's interesting, especially right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like this one a lot. This one, again, reminds me of Fringe. When his is like a window or more like a visor to the alternate universe. But I mean, it's kind of a similar concept anyway. And I would feel a lot better about just being able to view a different time than people traveling through it and fucking it all up. Now, I guess I'm okay with time travel working if it creates alternative timelines and not fucking up our own. But at the same time, like, I still think that's all bad juju. Like, how many timelines can we handle?
Yeah.
That's why the world's screwed up right now? Is that why everybody feels like the world has ended? Is it because we've created too many timelines from time travel? Who knows?
Yeah. I guess the reason why it's believable to me is just because who doesn't know that the Vatican hides stuff? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, really.
I mean,
Somebody
they
needs to go Da Vinci
so
Code
much
that
shit.
chronovisor out of there.
Yeah. And I mean, just the fact that they cover up so much that goes
Yeah.
on, like, child abuse and things like that,
Yeah.
that it just seems like, yeah, they probably would hide that from the world.
Yeah.
So I guess it seems sort of believable, but I guess
Yeah.
we'll probably never know, but it does seem plausible to me.
I think this is the one I was talking about.
Yeah, that's the one you were talking about that looks like he's holding a phone.
Yeah, so a photograph from 1943 of genuine authenticity showing a scene of holidaymakers on Towan Beach in Newquay, Cornwall was uploaded to Twitter in November 2018 by multimedia artist Stuart Humphreys, which was alleged by some viewers to show a time traveler operating an anachronistic mobile device, such as a phone. This tweet was picked up by news outlets, including a whole fuck ton of them. Fueled by media websites such as LAD Bible, it gained global coverage via news outlets in Russia and some other places. Amongst others, Humphreys, the original uploader, was quoted in these stories as dismissing the time travel theory, stating that the man in question was probably just rolling a cigarette. A cigarette. So, I mean, I think that one, I think I looked it up, and it really does. You can't really tell.
You can't really tell what it is, just like the circus picture.
Yeah.
Like, you can't prove or disprove it. It's just there.
Yeah.
It's impossible for you to really tell what's in his hand.
Yeah. And that one, just based on, like, I'm looking at it again, it really does look like he could be rolling a blunt or a cigarette or something. Like, it it is a similar stance to what we do these days, but it almost looks like he's craning his neck too much to look at it. That's why I almost feel like it's more like he was getting ready to lick the outside of the paper to roll it up. Like I think it's a little different, but I mean, it's still amazing. Again, get out there, look at your pictures, find us some weird shit.
And send them in, please.
Yeah.
The next one is Montauk Project. It's another government one. I'm not going to go into detail on this shit. It's just basically some more government experiment stuff, exotic research, including time travel. Stories have been circulating since the early 80s. Basically, the original account was Preston Nichols, who claimed to have recovered repressed memories of his involvement and claims that he is periodically abducted to continue his participation against his will. Basically, it includes time travel, teleportation, mind control, contact with alien life, and staging faked Apollo moon landings. So basically, stuff that's similar to Philadelphia experiment. They claim these culminated in a hole ripped in space-time in 1983. Which I don't even remember us talking about that part. Did I skip that sentence last time?
I don't even know.
Did somebody time travel and put that sentence in there?
Oh shit.
Anyway,
Shit.
I seriously don't remember that sentence. Basically, it's an amazing story, whether you consider it true or not, but it has been by some people characterized as fiction. So,
yeah, I don't. Just anything that has to do with the government, a lot of times it's going to be easily just like, oh, that's a conspiracy. Oh, that's a nut job. Like, it's going to get ignored. But, really, as many of them as there are out there, like, at least one of them has to be true, right?
I kind of feel I'm dismissive of government experiences, not because because I think, oh, that's crazy or not true. I just dismiss them because I feel like they're going on so much behind the scenes and people don't know about it that there's not much point in talking about it.
Right.
Like, that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, I honestly feel that way.
Yeah. It's going to keep keeping on no matter what we do and whether we believe it or not. And really, I feel like any kind of government information that gets out there, I think a lot of the people that whistleblow or whatever are often like kind of made to seem really crazy. And that's probably on purpose. The government's doing it. They're making them seem crazy so they're not credible. But, I mean, really, it's like they either make them not credible or the people mysteriously die. So, like, how do we ever know it's real?
Yeah. It's like the people that get really into that talk about it all the time and stuff.
Yeah. Like
People
every
just-
episode of Coast to Coast now is all government conspiracy.
Yeah, I used to love it when it was, different subjects or just whole episodes about
Sasquatch
ghost
and
stories.
Ghosts,
Yeah,
body snatchers,
I love
aliens.
that show, but now that it's more about this kind of stuff, it just bores me.
Yeah.
Because it's mostly the same stuff over and over again, which doesn't make it any less true. It just, to me, it's boring.
Yeah.
Because there's so much of it. There's so much information out there about different experiments, more than the ones I've listed.
Yeah.
I just kind of listed the most popular stuff.
Yeah.
So I just felt like it's overdone. It's over talked about,
Yeah.
whether you believe it or not. And I don't want to come off as crazy talking about it all the time, so I just leave it alone. I just
Yeah.
leave it alone.
Yeah. So this next one was like one of my favorites too, even though it's 100% disproven. But Hakan Nordqvist, I'm pretty sure I fucked that up last time too. A video uploaded in 2006 shows a Swedish man named Hakan Nordqvist claiming that he had been accidentally transported to 2046 when attempting to fix the sink in his kitchen. There in the future, he immediately met someone who revealed and proved to be himself about 70 years old and with whom he had had a great time. He filmed a short footage of the two smiling and hugging each other and showing the tattoo they had on their right arms. The story turned out to be a marketing campaign promoting the pension plans of the insurance company AMF. Like, damn, that's
I know, it's
a
like
pat on the back for that madman that came up with that. Like, dang, like, I love it. I probably would have been like, how do I get a pension plan in that? Like, it's brilliant. Like, I wonder how they cast that and, did the tattoos and all that. Like, it's so cool. Like, I wish it was real. But really, out of all things, like, that one, when I was first reading that last time, I didn't know how that paragraph ended. But the fact that he was just attempting to fix his kitchen sink, I'm like, I believe it.
We were both that same way, because I was just like, when I first read it, I was just like, this has got to be true. It's so it's one of those weird it has to be true.
I bet there was a jug underneath his kitchen sink.
There probably was. There's always jugs. It's all about the jugs.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next one, I forget what this one is. Oh wait, yes I do. This one was cool too. It's just that the one before it kind of surpasses it a little bit in interest.
Yeah.
Paul, this guy's got a cool name. Paul Amadeus Dynock.
Yeah.
In 1921, a Swiss-Austrian teacher fell into a coma for a year. When he woke up, he began writing a diary that he kept secret until he contacted one of his students, Georgios Papashatsis, I don't know,
go with it,
to translate it and keep it secret. In his writings, he claims to have awakened in the body of a man, Andrew Northman, in the year 3906 AD. According to the author, when awakened in the future, people realized that it was not Northman and told him the events during the future period.
Like, whoa. It'd be so cool. But like, I've never met anybody that's been in a coma, right? But like, I'd have to imagine that's some whacked out shit. So whether it really happened or not, I'm going to choose to believe it, right? Because it's cool. But
I guess it's cool because he kept it a secret.
Yeah. It reminds me, there was like an episode of a like Disney show back in the day called, what was it, So Weird? And there was a girl in a coma that was like communicating with this girl over the internet. Do you remember that? Like, it had like, what was the Mamas and the Papas like daughter that was super extra, like Michelle Phillips or one of those? It was one of those Phillips, or Wilson's, I don't know. But yeah, but like the idea you're hooked up to machines and stuff, what's to say you couldn't travel through technology? We don't know. We don't know the limitations.
And there's weird things about, different people that have been in comas or near death or whatever, that have had those near-death experiences that they can't quite explain, or other experiences that they can't quite explain while they were under, and some that were like fully conscious but just kind of trapped inside their body.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of weird things that go on in those situations that we don't quite understand.
Yeah, no, I think that one's cool.
And while you were talking about that, my cat got up under me and I didn't know she was there, and she scared the bejesus out of me because her fur rubbed up against my leg, and I was like, what the hell is that?
No.
Oh my God. I was like, it's a time traveler under my table.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's a time traveling jug.
It is. It's a furry jug, though.
All right, so this next one. What? All right, so the next one is Die Glock. The bell, which I think German is Die Glock, means the bell. That would be good to tell. It's a purported top secret Nazi scientific technological device, secret weapon, or Wunderwaffe. You're my Wunderwaffe. First described by Polish journalist and author Igor Witkowski in Prada, Wunderwaffe. Wunderwaffe? I don't know. It was later popularized by military journalist and author Nick Cook, who associated it with Nazi occultism, anti-gravity, and free energy research. Mainstream reviewers have criticized claims about Die Glock as being pseudoscientific, recycled rumors, and a hoax. Die Glock and other alleged Nazi miracle weapons have been dramatized in video games, television shows, and novels. So I think this one could be real.
Anyway.
I blame Hitler.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Like, I do believe he could have had some kind of secret weapon. Whether it works or not, that's a different story. But Hitler was known to collect like old artifacts, like the Holy Grail and things like that. Like he supposedly had a vault somewhere full of old artifacts and things that supposedly had power.
Yeah.
So the fact that he could have had some type of secret weapon, I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. I think it's one of those situations too where, like, I think we talked about this last time, but like Nikola Tesla supposedly like drafted up like a laser gun, like the instructions on how to create it, and nobody's quite figured it out yet. Who's to say somebody hasn't created something and just hasn't quite put it all the way together right, or tweak it here and there and it's ready. Like, even if it doesn't necessarily work or whatever, I'm sure Hitler like, that thing looks cool and it sounds scientific and occult. Let's keep it.
Yeah. Well, maybe he thought he would live long enough to complete it or so, or have someone complete it, and then that didn't happen.
Yeah. Or maybe he did, and that's why he's like, "Ooh, yeah, shit gets real fucked up. Let me end it now."
Speaking of which, everybody should go watch Jojo Rabbit because it's hilarious. It is not based on any kind of fact. They have Hitler like the Hitler character saying some really crazy shit. It's hilarious though.
It's on my list. I haven't watched it yet. I instead restarted Gilmore Girls.
Jesus, how many times?
I've watched it. Okay, so collectively, I've watched the whole series twice. The first time I watched it all together, and then watched A Year in the Life, of course, and then I started watching it again with Jacob and Justin, and we got like to season 4, and then like season 4 is where I really start liking things that happen. And so I got tired of waiting on them to pick it back up, and I continued it while waiting on them and finished it again, and then watched A Year in the Life. And I've watched A Year in the Life several times now, but so I restarted it again, and I'm almost done with season 1. I also like binge watched Gossip Girl, which is total trash, but I loved it. I've watched that since coronavirus hit, but yeah, no, just I actually watched a movie last night that's like really, it was really crap. Country Strong or whatever with like Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah,
I've seen that.
It has like my favorite character from Gossip Girl in it, that plays like the up and coming country girl or whatever. So like that's the kind of trash I've been watching. It's like, let me spend my valuable all this extra time I have watching crap.
Yeah. I've been watching like Little Fires Everywhere with Reese Witherspoon, and that other one with Reese Witherspoon, Big Little Liars, I think. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. So, Big Liars.
Both of those, Reese Witherspoon plays a total bitch. So I was just like, well, they've typecast her now. She can never play anything else.
Yeah. All right. Back to the task at hand.
Yeah, we got off on that, but Iranian time machine. In April 2013, the Iranian news agency Fars carried a story claiming a 27-year-old Iranian scientist had invented a time machine that allowed people to see in the future. A few days later, the story was removed and replaced with a story quoting an Iranian government official that no such device had been registered. And I wrote in parentheses, just because I found this interesting, that the news story disappeared and everything, and I said, is this why we're messing around with Iran? Because the president bombed their embassy or whatever recently, and I just thought that was really interesting. Is it because our people are trying to get a hold of their technology?
Yeah, and that's where like, oh shit, cover that up, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I anytime like news articles are replaced, it's definitely interesting to me. But sometimes I wonder, is that like a marketing ploy too? Kind of like that awesome kitchen sink fixing situation. Like they're like, oh, let's put out a really crack ass story and then take it back and then get people real fired up. Like, it would be. It's a great idea. Like, why not bring out the conspiracy theory and the questions? Because we get crazy out here, obviously, but. I think that, obviously that's been like 7 years now, so surely we would have heard something by now. Maybe. Probably not.
Yeah. All right, you get the last big one.
All right. Noah. A man who claims he is from the year 2030 and has revealed a number of predictions for the future has undergone a lie detector test and passed. The self-declared time traveler, who goes by the name of Noah, claims he has risked his life to tell those living in the present what their future has in store and insists he has to remain anonymous. Among his predictions are that Trump will be reelected, that phones are going to that phones are going to be bigger in the year 2030, and that they are starting to introduce robots that can run a home. He also says in 2030 the president is what sounds like, through the muffled dialogue, Ilana Remicki, who just does not seem to come up in any searches. We also apparently use Bitcoin a lot more, but money, including pennies, are still in use. He says global warming is more of a problem and that it's hotter in Northern America, but colder in Europe. We also apparently go to Mars in 2028, and the same year time travel is made public, even though it apparently already exists. Electric cars can travel as fast as diesel and petrol cars, and some diseases have been cured, he says, including some forms of cancer. So I'm other than the Trump reelection, I'm gonna hope he's right.
Well, you know what? I've had an idea. I'm gonna change my name to Ilana Remicki.
Yeah. There's
then
probably
run for
several
president.
people that have at this point. No, I mean, I think we talked about this before. I mean, just because he passed a lie detector test doesn't mean anything. He could be he could really believe himself. Unfortunately, people like our father out there believe himself, so why can't some other dude?
Oh God, yes.
But I think I've seen this one come up a good bit, and I want to say his face is blurred out in videos and things like that. I mean, he's doing a good bang up job versus the people on the internet entertainment lawyer guy.
Because the stuff he says actually kind of makes sense, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like, what? Wait a minute, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's some of the stuff is so simple that it's easy to believe. So
Yeah,
maybe he
yeah.
just is feeding us stuff that is easily believable.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, it just, if you predict simple enough stuff, a lot of it's bound to happen. And what that was like Nostradamus too, predicted a bunch of things, but it was kind of generalized. So, you're bound to be right every once in a while. Let's hope he's right about the cancer part.
Yeah. And the robots.
Yes and no. Robots, again, is kind of like with time travel. I really want time travel to be real, but at the same time, I know I would fuck shit up, and I would want to travel in time to see Live Aid and shit like that. But I'm like, I know I'd fuck it up. I know I'd be like, I know where David Bowie's going to be right now, so I'm going to go find him. I would do some really stupid shit, like, where's Depeche Mode? I couldn't be trusted with a time travel machine. I just couldn't. So, I mean, it's one of those situations that, as much as I want it to be real, it really shouldn't be. It don't need to be. Robots, almost everything we've ever written about robots, they become
self-aware.
Yeah, self-aware and take over. So, I mean, we're usually right, unfortunately. But I mean, if we can find a way around it, great. If we, the fear of time travel and robots, that's the stuff of nightmares for me, anyway.
Yeah. I think we had talked about it last time, but I completely forgot this time. I was writing a short story. I have not finished it. This is one that I was working on years ago about. I was writing a time travel story about Elvis, where this girl's in the future, and there's basically time travel as, just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to sign contracts and stuff saying that you're not going to interfere or do this, that, or the other. There's rules to it. But she time travels to go see Elvis before he was famous because she just wants to meet him. And so she goes to an early show in Mississippi because it was me writing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I even did some research. He had played with several other people like Johnny Cash and stuff in Amory, Mississippi. So I based it there. Basically she meets him after the show, and they have a one-night stand, which she doesn't see as a big deal. It is breaking the rules, but she doesn't see it as a big deal. And she goes back to her own time and ends up being pregnant. And as a result of what she had done, Elvis was obsessed with her because she disappeared into the night after they had sex, and he became obsessed with finding this woman, and just it ruined his life and his career. He never ended up with Priscilla. He ditched
A
his
world
career.
without Elvis.
Yeah, and he basically ditches everything to try to find this woman he's obsessed with.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of shit I think that would happen. I mean, hell, I've actually had dreams where Elvis was your dad and not mine, and that he was actually still alive out there.
Yeah.
I've also dreamt that Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin was my dad. Like, my mom got around, apparently, in my dreams. Well, she did in real life, too, but, we won't talk about that right now.
You just reminded me that we need to do an Elvis is Alive episode.
Yeah.
Is Elvis alive?
I choose to believe True Blood or the Sookie Stackhouse novels that he was turned into a vampire named Bubba.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to go with because I like that story better than him just being dead.
And I also, sometime in the future we need to get together and do some research on Waco because I know that's one.
Oh my god, yeah!
I know that's your favorite true crime thing. So we got to talk about that at some point.
Well, at this point, like the idea of cults and that mentality, I've just we call our house Jonestown, and that's so fucked up. Really, there were so many people killed during that, but because our last name is Jones, and we have the little brother living with us and friends over a lot, we've gotten to where our house gets called Jonestown. So. We'll just add that into the mix with Waco. Maybe we can talk about Jonestown massacres and Waco together.
Yeah.
Such a cheery episode.
Yeah. Oh, and I wanted to add on to the other stories that I had some other stories that I tried to research, and I brought this up last time. I know, and you're like, blah, blah, blah.
And everybody else was like, we didn't get to hear that, shut the fuck up. But we're really sad about it.
Yeah. The 3-hour episode.
Yeah. I talked about Fringe like every other story, so I tried to hold it back this time.
A little. Anyway, yeah. But there was a weather balloon story that I had read somewhere a long time ago, that I'd heard about a long time ago, about a weather balloon that was sent into a polar vortex just to test it, and it had a bunch of test gear on it, and they sent it through, and when they pulled it back, the instruments had registered a different year and time and everything. And I believe it was the 40s or something. So the fact that this weather balloon traveled to the 40s is just trippy as hell. But when I did the research for this, I could not find it anywhere.
Yeah.
I searched Google up and down, and the only thing remotely close I found was a basically fiction story that was similar but not quite the same. So I don't know where I got this story from, honestly, in the first place.
And I feel like it sounds familiar to me too, but obviously I've been around you my whole life, so I could have heard you talk about it before.
Yeah, probably. And so also this and the next story that I'm about to mention make me feel like it's some kind of weird Mandela effect thing. Like did this story happen in an alternate universe, and that I slipped there at some point, and I know, and that's how I know the story, or I'm from that universe. I don't know. It's trippy to me that I can't find any mention of this anywhere, even though I've known this story for years.
Yeah.
And the other one was there was a story that this one my ex had definitely told me at some point, but he had supposedly read it somewhere. It's about a western town, I think it was in Colorado, up in the Rockies somewhere. This guy gets stuck in a blizzard, and I guess his car gets stuck, or it breaks down, or whatever. And he gets out and walks into this nearby town. But when the second he walks into this town, it becomes apparent that it's not of this world or this time. It is like a true Western town. Like he walks into the saloon, and it's old West people, and everything's just not from this time. And eventually I don't remember all the details of what happened while he was in there, if he talked to anybody or if they were even aware of him. But I do remember that he said years later he went back up there into the mountains to try and find this place, and it did not exist.
Yeah.
So it's another like time slip, I guess, story.
Yeah.
But yet again, I researched it. I could not find it. I tried every keyword I could possibly think of and could not find it.
Yeah. It's a time slip.
And now we get into the real discussion, our favorite time travel related pop culture.
Yeah.
My favorite time travel movie is Somewhere in Time. We had mentioned it
You
earlier in the
bitch.
episode. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, that one's always been one of my favorites too, and I think the idea that he kind of hypnotizes himself and surrounds himself in a time period to travel there kind of goes along with the energy thought or the Palace of Versailles, and I've always really liked that. I mean, granted, if you read the book, it's written by Richard Matheson, and the book obviously makes you feel like it's less real than the movie does. The movie kind of plays more into emotion, but in the book, there's some scientific explanation that you're pretty sure the shit never happened, and that makes me really sad to think about.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so, but no, I love the movie. Of course, it's Christopher Reeves, and I forget her real name, but she's Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. That's all I remember.
Jane
Seymour. Jane Seymour. Yeah.
Yes, there we
And
go.
it's awesome. So my favorite shit, I can't even it's hard to narrow down my favorite anything time travel. I blanked out the first time we were recorded, so I actually wrote down a few this time. So Donnie Darko's way up there.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that completely.
Hot Tub Time Machine is so fucking stupid, but I love that movie so much.
I thought of another one too, Bill and Ted, because that's like an early one of the earliest instances of time travel that I had seen. And because I think I actually saw that before I saw Somewhere in Time.
Or Back to the Future, of course, is a classic. But really, so I love The Lake House, which is really stupid. It's like a time traveling male. But I love that movie. And then About Time is probably my favorite.
That's a good one too. That is.
If it's not Somewhere in Time, About Time is probably one of my favorites. The acting in that movie is just fucking phenomenal, and it shows a little more of the butterfly effect situation of time
Butterfly
travel.
Effect. That's one we forgot.
Yeah, that one I didn't love as much. It was good when I watched it, but it was one of those like it didn't age well to me.
Yeah, it's one of those. I enjoyed it at that time, but I'll probably never watch it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna go back to Somewhere in Time just because the thing I like about it is because there is no time machine or anything. It just simplifies it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's my favorite part about that one. Well, I mean, About Time, that's probably why there are two favorites. There's less scientific gobbledygook that makes it just for some reason the simplicity of Somewhere in Time and About Time, like, I don't know, it's more enjoyable to me.
I figured you would include Time Traveler's Wife.
I actually haven't watched that or read the book yet, and I really don't like Eric Bana's face, and I think that's why I've put off watching it at this point.
Just read the book, though. I have read the book. It's pretty good.
I have the book, and it's one of those that's like, in a little stack of things I'm going to read, and instead I just go back and forth between Stephen King books.
It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite, but it's still a good read. It's a quick read, too.
Yeah.
I thought it was a quick read. I don't know about anybody else, but...
Yeah.
And so, TV shows, I know you're going to say Fringe.
Yes. I actually made myself a little list on this one too. So Fringe obviously is number one. There's a little less time travel in that. I mean, obviously the September and the other like fedora wearing dudes, like they time travel, but for the most part it's alternate reality and fringe science. But I put it in there because of the fringe science aspect of it. It's beautiful. Of course, I've talked about Future Man in this episode too. Future Man is fucking delightful.
You're the one that was like, go watch this right now.
Yeah.
And we love it.
Season 3 comes out in like 4 fucking days. I'm so pumped.
God, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's the final season, which is a bummer, but like that show is so it's a little bit raunchy and it's really ridiculous, but I fucking love it. It's so good. Another one that that show Flash Forward only had like one
Oh yeah,
season and was
that was a
canceled,
good
and
one.
that one was
That
really good. Lost has some time travel aspects in there, and again, that one has a bunch of weird science in it, which is why I mean that's one of my favorite shows ever. Screw
Yeah.
everybody that doesn't like the ending. And then I actually wrote
What
down OA because it has a sprinkling of like some time travel and things like that in it. I
I
recommend
haven't
anybody.
watched the second season, so no spoilers.
Oh my god, it gets even better. Like the first season was amazing as it was, and the second season you're like, what?
Did Leftovers have any time traveling? I can't remember. There was so much weirdness with that show too.
No, I don't. But that show is fucking weird. Like, it's so good. I finally finished it. I had watched all but the last season, and then like took a year or so to finish it. But it was a really good show. That's another one of those with some weird, not science exactly in that one, but it's
got
good.
some weirdness.
Yeah. And then, of course, a show I have not watched yet, but I really want to, is that Outlander show. I've heard it's really good, but I have no idea what goes on.
I watched like the first one or two episodes, and we were just kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
I think some Sahara and some others have told me like, oh, you gotta just keep watching it and you'll get into it. But
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, meh. I don't really care about it.
Yeah.
But
and then I saved the big one for you.
Doctor Who, that's my favorite TV time travel. I got into it the beginning of the new series. Like, my ex talked about Doctor Who constantly because he had watched some of the old ones on PBS. And he tried to make me watch like Doctor Who and the Daleks, I think it was like a TV movie or something.
Yeah.
And it was goddamn terrible. Okay, like seriously, it was terrible. And I was just completely reluctant to give Doctor Who a chance after that.
Yeah.
But then one day I just happened to be, there was nothing on. I was channel surfing, and they had the new episodes on Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
And it was the Girl in the Fireplace episode, which is funny considering the Marie Antoinette story in this is very similar. Basically, I just saw these clockwork robot guys with the wigs and everything in that episode, and I was like, "What in the fuck is?" I was like, "What in the fuck is this?"
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm a bigger Eccleston person than any of the other doctors. I mean, okay, obviously I love David Tennant, and I love watching him, but I got dragged in by the "Are You My Mummy" episode, the doctor dances. What was the shit? The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. It's a two-parter, but yeah, I know the time travel in that, especially them like going to see Van Gogh. There's like endless possibilities with Doctor Who because it's time and space.
The funny thing to me, like I wanted my husband James to get into Doctor Who because honestly, it's a deal breaker for me. Like if somebody's like not into Doctor Who, they gotta go. So when we were dating, I purposefully picked an episode that I knew would grab his attention. I made him watch Dinosaurs on a Spaceship.
I thought you were gonna say the farting alien babies.
No, he hated those episodes.
Oh, that's funny. Justin hates those too. He's like, this is fucking stupid. And of course, that's towards the beginning of Eccleston, so it took me a long time to really get him into it. But of course, anytime I show people the Empty Child, Doctor Dances, Are You My Mummy episodes, that's how I hook them, like every time. Yeah. And of course, the episode with like Toxic by Britney Spears.
Yeah, yeah. But I knew that one would grab his attention because he loves dinosaurs and he loves sci-fi. So Dinosaurs on a Spaceship.
Yeah.
I was like, this is going to grab his attention, and then I'll go back and make him start from the beginning at Eccleston and the farting aliens and all that bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I knew that if I showed him that first, he would stick through it to watch the rest. And he did.
Yeah.
It totally worked because it's Dinosaurs on a Spaceship.
So books.
Oh, for me, probably 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I'm a Stephen King nerd, and that one's Time Travel by Stephen King. So, and I have watched the series on that too. That's just probably my favorite.
Yeah. So mine is the Pathfinder series by Orson Scott Card. That one has some space and time going on. There's also like superhuman powers that are time travel related, like someone that can speed time up, someone that can walk, like can live really slowly through time, like where they can slow everything down. It just people that can jump through, like there's so many different layers of time travel and like terraforming and all kinds of other stuff that goes on in that book series. Like my favorites are named after two characters in it. They're named Umbo and Poke. And there's Orson Scott Card is just one of my favorite sci-fi writers in general, like Ender's Game and the Ender's series, Ender's Shadow series. Those are my favorite books ever. Speaking for the Dead is actually my favorite book ever, but we have another dog named Petra, named after Orson Scott Card books. So it's like, should I read a Stephen King book today, or should I read an Orson Scott Card book today? So I actually wrote down Dark Tower this time too, because shit that goes on in that one, there's a lot of time travel and alternate realities. And then there's even like towards the ends of the books, they go through that like subway area where you can like jump to different times. There's like doorways like the Lincoln assassination and the Kennedy assassination. Like, let me just travel to cool points in time.
I kind of forgot that because it's been a long time since I read those, but the Dark Tower series is probably my favorite. I consider that my favorite book, even though it's a series. Yeah. But I call the Dark Tower series my favorite book because it just is. It's
hard to equate.
It's almost a whole cult to itself because anybody that has read it just knows.
The fact that Stephen King wrote himself into it, I think that's kind of why I feel like it's there is time travel in it, because obviously they go through different times and they're trying to catch up to different years that things are going to happen with the number 19 in it and shit like that. But the fact that Stephen King wrote himself into it, wrote about how he writes about this stuff, like, it just makes you wonder, like, is Stephen King writing the truth? Like, is he?
Is he just a vehicle for the universe?
Yeah, the turtle calls to him.
And now we're in the stand. Anyway.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was about to say, like, and now he's predicted Captain Trips on us. Whew.
I'm always every time I'm sick, I'm like, it's Captain Trips, because
I've always said that, and then now we're like, oh shit, it's real. Yeah. But now anything time travel is good stuff.
Yeah. And I forgot what I was gonna say. It was something Stephen King and Stan related, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I just love how interconnected it is, and I just wanted to point out that it's COVID-19.
Oh shit! Oh shit! No!
Just saying, Sabrina.
Yeah.
I just jumped out of my seat to say that. I don't know. I'm like, here you go. But anybody who's read the Dark Tower series, the number 19 pops up everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like a recurring number that they see everywhere.
Yeah. All the important dates and time. I mean, it would have made it. Well, I mean, I guess I'm assuming COVID-19, is it like a 19th strain, or is it because it like was first found in 2019?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I should really know that, but I don't. I feel like it was only really found at the beginning of in January around Chinese New Year's, but I'm not a scientist, obviously, by all the blibbering and blabbering I've done in this episode, but time travel gets me so excited that I cannot find my words.
And now I can't release this episode because I just realized this is going to be episode 18. So now I'm going to have to put out a different episode in front of it. Just so this can be episode 19.
Do it. Go get my kid to record real quick.
We got to do some research. I have one ready that I have the research done. We'll probably cut this part out. I have one about Ilse Koch, the chick that's my doppelganger or whatever, the Nazi war criminal.
Yeah.
But it's not that great. I just basically copied and pasted the Wikipedia stuff, and because everybody's like, why don't you do that? Because she really does look like you. And
Yeah.
it's true, she does. It's really creepy.
Yeah, I've seen the picture. Yeah, it's a little creepy.
But so I have that one already kind of ready. It's like a really short one. But I didn't know who would want to do that one because it's not that interesting to me. I mean, there's some parts of it's that interesting, like her making lamps out of skin and stuff, you know.
Interesting.
That's who inspired Ed Gein. So, aka the dude from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I guess we need to end this episode and shut up. Did we think
Yeah.
of anything we forgot from the list of pop culture stuff?
I'm sure we did. There's so much. But I've got D&D to play for the next 3 days. So I'm going to time travel my way into that shit.
Okay. Well, everybody go to our show notes if you need any of our links or whatever. Our shout outs this week are Dear Murder Street and Independent Thought. Those are both good podcasts to check out.
And to Bonna.
Shout out and hi to Bonna.
I love you.
And then we're going to end this in the proper way because I just brought this up. Goodbye, horses. Okay, anyway. Anyway, later.
Bye.
Do you like it deeper, harder, wetter?
I do.
And full of sexy, racy language?
I do.
Pelvic Sorcery is two Southern redheads discussing their own personal experiences in the bedroom and all the terrible advice they can possibly give on the subject of sex and relationships. Listener discretion is advised.
It is.